Welcome to South Plaza. This is a land iguana paradise. There are some things going on here. This is where we get to see the iguanas the most active. Land iguanas will have a mixed diet. They will feed on vegetation, they feed especially on flowers from prickly pear cactus. On this island, you may see that there is a lot of cactus around. However, food conditions are not easy on this island for land iguanas. The dry conditions we have here is something that is going to make it very difficult for land iguanas to find food. This is one of the reasons why, of all land iguana populations, the ones living here are not going to get so big. It's not so easy to feed on something that is going to hurt you. That's the reason why some of the adaptations of the land iguana were developed in order to deal with this kind of food. On this island, due to the geographic conditions and actually the size conditions of this particular island, land iguanas and marine iguanas share the same place. So on this island, marine iguanas and land iguanas interbreed sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it happens. What happens of the results of this interbreeding, we have a hybrid iguana.
Galapagos is an amazing place for evolution, to observe this with your own eyes. One of the most amazing things is that you're able to see mutations, these special traits that are changing the populations, not only an individual, but it slowly will change a population. Oh, look, this is the hybrid. The hybrid iguana is right there. Look, come over here. Come on. Baby one? It's a young one, yes, but what happened is they are smaller than both the species of iguanas, much smaller. Yes, teeny thing. This is very unusual, This is something like, oh my God. I haven't seen one for 3 years. Yes, another one is for years because they hide. Oh my God, it's coming so close. Take it. It looks like a marine iguana, and they have this zebra pattern, so they are really easy to distinguish because of the line. What happened to us? You're not going to make it. No, what happened is they live less, Yeah.
They won't be able to breathe.
Sterile, yeah.
Okay. That's why it's unsustainable.
Yeah. Of course, in these sterile animals, the people and the scientists have found that 0.01% are able to breathe. It's amazing, but it happens. So there was a study going on here on the hybrid iguanas. It's dark like a marine iguana, It looks like a marine iguana, but it has these lines all over the body. And it behaves like a land iguana. It doesn't go into the wood. It's just interesting to think about how many species that we have nowadays, how many extinctions we have gone through, and all the diversity that we see in certain areas. It's just because of these small mutations that have gone, throughout the thousands and millions of years. And this is just, something that nature is always trying, but most of the time we are not able to see this at all. Some could be a disadvantage, the animals can just perish, or they can have a great advantage when we have big changes going on.
Today we're visiting Fernandina Island. The place is called Punta Espinosa. We're working on a very new lava field. This field was formed in 1825, and we know that because of the whalers that were already at that time coming to these waters.
Here comes some rocks.
We will find huge piles of marine iguanas here. This is the largest population we have. Easily confuse them with rocks, and there can be hundreds one over the other, but this is a behavior just to keep them warm. Remember, as reptiles, they lose their heat very fast, so they pile like that to keep warm during the nighttime. Marine iguanas are a great example of adaptations. They are the only marine iguana in the world. They feed on algae, and because of this, of course, they will be affected by every change we have on the water temperatures. So events like El Niño are going to affect them a lot. That's why we have seen so many dead iguanas. During the warm season and during El Niño, when the water gets actually warmer, they will suffer a lot in their population. They cannot find the algae they feed on, and they end up feeding in an algae which is toxic for them.
You have to be very careful on this island because you can step on the wildlife so easy. That's what's so amazing. You can't take a bad photo. There's so much to see.
You know, these reptiles, they're known as the Conolophus suscristatus, or the land iguana, the Galapagos land iguana, also a direct descendant of the green iguanas that you might have seen in any of the jungle areas of Central and South America. Florida today is having an issue with introduced green iguanas. They are the ancestors of the iguanas here. Look at the one trying to mate, cornering the female into the rocks or into the bushes is going to give male a higher chance to flip her over. Yeah. Let's now see what happens, because it seems like the second male is going the same direction.
Oh! Oh my God, I hope the female rolls. Oh, that was great. That was great.
That was so exciting. We turned around and we saw the iguana just walking across.
It's up close and personal. It's there. There's no prompting.
And they're not afraid.
There's no inhibitions on that part of the animals. It's amazing.
They just ignore us.
You're like a fly on the wall. It's wonderful that Lindblad in the National Geographic Endeavor put $4 million in the conservation of this different planet here. This is that's wonderful in itself, and that we're part of that.
Right. You don't see this anywhere. I mean, this is totally unique, and it would be a horrible shame if it didn't stay just exactly.
Oh my God, his eyes are blue. Look at his beauty. Look at the nails are blue.
Beautiful. He is beautiful.
Oh my gosh!
And he just broke up the other meat.
This is the only species of lizard and marine iguana that actually can do this in the ocean. There's some research that tells that these guys can go up to 30 meters deep, and they can stay up to 10 minutes. That means they are really well adapted to live in this environment. These marine iguanas show also special adaptations that makes them different to other species of iguanas. One of them is having a very flat tail, which gives them a lot of propulsion, so they can swim and get to deeper areas where they find their algae. I found it really admirable because you can see the currents, how strong and the tides are really, really strong here in the Galapagos. So sometimes you find them really struggling, just going and diving in these kind of very strong currents and then coming back. It's something really amazing. I just found them, they are really strong and resilient animals. Oh. I've noticed that the marine iguanas looks a little not that fat. Actually, they are a little skinny. So don't forget that we are just ending the time of El Nino. And what happens with these guys is that they may not find too much food at this moment. But they have a very interesting adaptation. They actually can shrink. They can reduce their body size up to 20%. So that's a lot, that's a very big percentage in terms of reducing the size. Imagine yourself, I mean, we can get really skinny, but not reducing our size. You're talking about reducing even bones and muscles, everything. They reduce 20% of their size when there is lack of food. So that's an adaptation for them to resist during a very strong El Nino phenomenon. Well, we know that when there is warmer waters, there is less productivity in the water, there is much less algae, and this is natural cycles. So we have seen many of these iguanas that are actually now dead. So if we consider that this is part of the natural cycle, well, we will then have a period of La Nina when the water will become colder. The problem is that we know that now with climate change, there is possibilities that these kind of El Nino events will become stronger. So it's not only now natural cycles, but it's also the influence of humans that are modifying and doing modifications in these kind of weather cycles. So we really need to think how we are relating with the whole environment, and marine iguanas are a good indicator of the health status of the ecosystem. And here in such a well-protected marine reserve, this makes everything clear. We as humans have a big responsibility on protecting these species, and every of our actions will have an effect on their health status.